We're looking at one of my least favorite G.I. Joe characters, Dusty from Tiger Force on Way I Got It Figured.
The way I got it figured.
What's up, figure fans? Way I Got It Figured back with another G.I. Joe classified review. You heard it right. We're looking at one of my least favorite G.I. Joe characters of all time, Dusty, but the Tiger Force version. So what do I mean by that? Do I hate Dusty? No. Do I love Dusty? No. But of the two versions that they did, the Tiger Force version was the one I'd rather have over the original. So I chose to get the Tiger Force Dusty. Now that said, if I were to run into regular Dusty for $4.99 in Ollie's, well, I wouldn't turn it down. But Dusty is from the, much loved 1985 series of G.I. Joe, which was series 4, I think. And series 4 and series 5, 86, 1986 are probably peak G.I. Joe. That's when the cartoon was on. Everybody was watching it. And so the 1985 and 86 assortments of G.I. Joe figures are some of the lasting, really popular versions of the characters that were made at that time. And, that's all fine and good. But even in the great waves, there were ones that just were okay figures or whatever. The thing about Dusty, for me, was always that he was just boring, and I think the worst sin, an action figure can make is to be boring. I know he had a kind of a cool run on the cartoon. They had the Trader episode where Dusty Rudat was a traitor, and there was a plot with Duke, who was in his 19th coma and all of that stuff, but blah blah blah. I never really cared too much for the cartoon anyway. It was okay. I loved the cartoon to a degree, but I knew that they had made a lot of changes to the characters that made it a lot more palatable for TV, even when I was a kid. So just didn't do as much for me as it might have for a lot of other collectors. And then, on his original file card, he wasn't really all that interesting either. And I have his original file card here for you to read. But he was there was always a joke on the card. He was a refrigeration technician, a desert guy with a refrigeration technician. But anyway, I don't want to go all into it about, my sort of blah feeling about Dusty. Like I said, I don't hate the character. I just don't love the character. I definitely didn't want to buy both versions of him. And if I was going to pick one, then it would be the Tiger Force one. I thought that one at least looked more interesting than the original version of Dusty. So here we are. He is number 65 in the series. And we're going to look at him just like we would everybody else. Give him a nice critical eye. Judge him as an action figure, not as a character. And all of that. But, I always like to be honest, be full disclosure with, everything. So there you go. So starting off with good old Dusty's packaging. It's the Tiger Force version, which is, non-plastic, unlike the original Dusty figure, which was in the last wave where we had the open the open packaging. So of course he's got his Tiger Force logo. The artwork is the same as on the other box, but it's colored in Tiger Force colors. You got your inset of Dusty in action there. Same artwork again. On the back you've got you know, stuff he comes with. 6'5", 6.5 inches, 165.1 millimeters. Another inset. And then of course on the side and on the back you have his file card symbols. So he's got a 4 environmental specialist, 2 light weapons, 1 interpreter, and 4 desert combat. So, you know, Dusty's a pretty skilled guy. I don't want to take that away from him. For his you know, file card numbers. I don't know if his file card made him seem like he was all that skilled, but hey. So there you go. That's a look at the packaging. Of course, he's got the foot locker here, number 65. And we've got all of his accessories. I did prep some of them a little bit. So he's got his helmet here, and I went ahead and put the goggles on top. And up to me fidgeting with them, they were actually staying on there pretty good. You got his backpack. It's just a brown backpack. I think it's got water in it, but you know, it carries water. No paint apps. Decent sized backpack. Pretty hefty. And then he's got his FAMAS-like weapon. And of course you have the removable magazine and the tripod. You know, he's even got a little optical scope. Then you get the second set of goggles so that you can either A, put them on his eyes, or B, put them on backwards so that his helmet stays on good. And last but not least, even though I sort of pre-prepped them, comes with a small service knife. I don't want to call it a combat knife, it's really small. And, you know, looking at Dusty, he's not a terrible figure. He's not all new. There's several pieces of reuse with him. Namely his arms, legs, you know, basically his pants and his arms are reuse of the Stalker body. So he's got the same boots, same pants, and same arms as Stalker, Snake Eyes, etc. And you can see up close, we can get the camera to focus, the Tador on his shirt. U.S. Army on the other side. He's got this harness to sort of be the straps for his backpack. And he's got kind of this skirt, which also has like a secondary belt on it. It's pretty cool. So yeah, so I'll show a little bit later him alongside Stalker so you can see what I mean. But it's not a terrible figure. The portrait's not terrible. He does have kind of a longish neck. I know some people had their neck was like too long, but I think this one is correct. And one of the things about Tiger Force Dusty in 1988, which is when Tiger Force Dusty came out, the Tiger Force version didn't have the face paint on him on the action figure, so he sort of had a plain face, which was also what I was kind of hoping to get with this version, but we didn't get that, and it's okay. He still looks okay. I'm not sweating that. So we will get Dusty geared up. Let's take a look at him like that. Here is Dusty geared up with all his equipment stored on him one way or another. So he holds his rifle well enough. And the helmet does sit on his head if you use the trick of putting the goggles on his head as a kind of a headband. Hold the helmet in place pretty well. And he looks decent. I mean, again, there's not a whole lot to write home about the way that the character was always sort of kitted out and everything. He's got his one weapon, no extra gun, no nothing, just that. And of course now he has a knife that used to be just molded to his shoes. So, he did get kind of an upgrade, but he's still kind of a humdrum figure if you ask me. The colors do work better to me than the desert colors, even though he's a desert guy. And again, if I find him in Ollie's, I will certainly grab him because he's $5. So I'm bringing in Stalker here, and as you can see, look at the sleeves, the upper sleeves, by the way, you can see they have the same pocket, the same wrinkle pattern. The lower part is different, it's not the same. And as far as the pants, obviously Stalker has a holster on both legs, but the wrinkle pattern is exactly the same. So, same pants. So basically he reuses the upper arm and the entire pants and boots part of the Stalker body. I'm not sure if the neck is the same. It might be the same neck, but I can't tell. So, some reuse, not all reuse, but, some. So there's that. And then, of course, we would be remiss if we didn't show Dusty with his other Tiger Force companions. So we've got Recondo, you've got Outback, and finally you've got Tiger Force Duke. And so there you go. That's your Tiger Force comparisons. And we'll get out of here with some final thoughts. Final thoughts on Tiger Force Dusty. So, you know, like I said, I think it's an improvement over the regular Dusty. Just as a non-objective, I like these colors better kind of way. It's not any better of a figure than Dusty, which isn't a terrible figure. They don't make terrible G.I.Joe classified figures. They might mess up here and there, like Falcon's head. The plastic on Outback, you know, kind of looks plasticky. But by and large, you know, this action figure line is the best thing going from a main line you can go buy it in a store kind of toy line. And Dusty, you know, again, just objectively as a figure, he's a pretty decent figure. I wish he had more accessories, or, you know, added a gun to him, something. You know, I go back to Outback. Outback did not have a gun ever in 1987 or in 1988 when they made him a part of Night Force. He didn't have a gun, but they gave him one. Maybe they could have done something like that for Dusty, gave him a sidearm, you know, and it would help. But they didn't. They went straight, let's remake this figure in G.I.Joe Classified as a big-ass version of a 1988 figure, or 1985, respectively. And so, you know, some people want straight recreations of a real American hero figures, and there's a place for that. I do get it. But honestly, I think that you could have completely recreated them and still gave them something extra, just so that you didn't just, you know, feel like, well, this is the same figure I got 30 years ago, 40 years ago at this point. So, you know, that's my feeling on it. But as strictly as an action figure, he's pretty decent. I'm gonna give him an 8 because there's nothing really wrong with him. But he's not, you know, he's kind of like your bread and butter G.I. Joe. There's nothing flashy about him. He just kind of does his job, does what he does. So there you go. See, I can be nice. All right, guys. That's going to be it for this video. Thanks for rocking with me. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe to the video. Leave a comment. Let me know how you feel about Dusty, Tiger Force, or otherwise. And I will see you guys all on the next video. Until then, stay safe. Peace.
The way I got it figured.